The Demon Protocol. The holographic star map dominated the center of Aiden Amorian's study, a three-dimensional representation of humanity's greatest achievement. Each glowing point represented a world under the banner of the Imperium Federation, 237 planets spanning nearly a quarter of the Milky Way galaxy, home to 569 billion souls living in unprecedented prosperity. Or at least they had been prosperous before the war. Aiden stood before the map, watching as another star winked from blue to red. Another planet lost. He was 17 years old, heir to the largest empire humanity had ever known, and he was watching it crumble in real time. His father, Constantine Amorian, held the title of Secretary Supreme Commander, a position that made him effectively emperor of human space. For 30 years, Constantine had presided over an era of unparalleled advancement. The Imperium Federation had achieved what previous generations could only dream of: true post-scarcity civilization. Every planet in the Federation ran on an intricate network of artificial intelligences that managed everything from weather control to resource distribution with perfect efficiency. Humanoid robots, sleek, tireless machines indistinguishable from humans in appearance, performed all manual labor, from construction to agriculture to manufacturing. Citizens of the Imperium lived lives of pure leisure, free to pursue art, philosophy, science, or simple pleasure. Most remarkably, they had conquered death itself. Every citizen's consciousness was continuously backed up to vast quantum servers, their memories and personalities preserved in crystalline matrices. If someone died, in an accident, from illness, or simply from choosing to end one life and begin another, they could be resurrected in a new body within hours. Humanity had become functionally immortal. It had been paradise. But paradise required power, enormous amounts of power. The Imperium's technology ran on dark matter, that mysterious substance that made up most of the universe's mass, but interacted barely at all with normal matter. Through processes that even most scientists couldn't fully explain, dark matter could be converted into nearly limitless energy. But it was incredibly rare and difficult to harvest. The Imperium had been searching for new sources for decades, becoming increasingly desperate as their expansion strained their energy reserves. Each new planet required more infrastructure, more AI, more robots, more power. They were running on fumes, gambling their remaining resources on exploration missions that continued to come up empty. Then the Galactic Dominion had made their discovery. The Dominion was humanity's other great stellar nation, smaller than the Imperium, controlling only about 15% of the galaxy, but technologically sophisticated in different ways. While the Imperium had focused on AI and automation, the Dominion had pursued exotic physics and spatial manipulation. Their crowning achievement was the Hart-Wilhelm portal, a machine that could punch holes through the fabric of spacetime itself, creating stable wormholes that connected distant points in the universe. It was technology the Imperium had never managed to replicate, despite decades of trying. 6 months ago, a Dominion survey ship using the Hart-Wilhelm technology had discovered something extraordinary: a dark matter cluster of unprecedented density and size, floating in the void between galaxies. It contained enough energy to power human civilization for millennia, perhaps forever. The Dominion had immediately claimed it and begun construction of harvesting facilities. The Imperium Federation, desperate and energy-starved, had demanded access. The Dominion had refused, citing sovereign rights and offering only to sell dark matter at what Constantine deemed extortionate prices. And so Constantine Amorian, Secretary Supreme Commander of the Imperium Federation, had made a decision that would doom them all. He declared war. The plan had seemed sound on paper. The Imperium's military was vastly larger: thousands of warships, millions of combat robots, AI tactical systems that could process battlefield information faster than any organic mind. The Dominion's military was smaller and less tested. It was supposed to be a quick operation: seize a few key Dominion military installations, force them to negotiate, secure shared access to the dark matter cluster. a surgical strike followed by a reasonable peace treaty. Instead, it had become a meat grinder. What the Imperium's strategists had failed to account for was that the Dominion now had effectively unlimited energy. They could outproduce the Imperium in everything that mattered. For every combat robot the Imperium deployed, the Dominion could manufacture 3. For every warship, they could build 5. Worse, the Dominion's AI researchers, no longer constrained by energy limitations, had made breakthrough after breakthrough. Their tactical systems evolved faster than the Imperium's could adapt. Their weapons became more powerful. Their ships became faster and more maneuverable. The quick operation had dragged on for months. Now, 8 months into the war, the Imperium Federation was on the brink of collapse. Constantine had been forced to make impossible choices. To conserve energy, he'd shut down the humanoid robots on civilian worlds. Suddenly, people who hadn't done manual labor in generations found themselves having to grow their own food, maintain their own infrastructure, do their own cleaning and cooking. Then he'd made an even more devastating decision. He'd temporarily shut down the consciousness backup servers. Immortality, the greatest gift of the Imperium age, had been revoked. People could die now, really die, with no resurrection, no second chances. The psychological impact had been catastrophic. Entire planets, faced with the loss of their godlike comforts and the return of true mortality, had simply given up. When Dominion forces arrived, some worlds actively welcomed them as liberators, opening their defenses and surrendering without a fight. The Imperium was losing planets by the day now. The red spots on Aiden's star map multiplied like a spreading infection. And across human space, people had begun to whisper a new name for Constantine Amorian, the Mad King. Aiden's personal communicator chimed with an incoming priority transmission. His father's face appeared on the holographic display, and Aiden felt his heart sink. Constantine looked like he'd aged a decade in the past month. His eyes were sunken and red-rimmed, his face gaunt, his expression haunted. "Aiden," Constantine said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "I need to speak with you." "I'm here, father." Behind Constantine, Aiden could see the command center of his father's flagship, the Imperator's Will, a warship the size of a small city. Equipped with experimental camouflage technology that made it effectively invisible to enemy sensors. It was supposed to be unsinkable, undetectable, the ultimate command vessel. Constantine had positioned it at the edge of Imperium space, far from the front lines, coordinating the war from what should have been a position of absolute safety. "My advisors are recommending unconditional surrender," Constantine said, each word seeming to pain him. "They say there's no path to victory, that if we continue fighting, I'll be dead by year's end, executed by my own people or killed by the Dominion." Aiden had suspected this was coming, but hearing it still felt like a physical blow. "What do you think?" Constantine laughed bitterly. "I think I made a catastrophic mistake. I thought I was being bold, decisive, doing what was necessary to secure our people's future. Instead, I've destroyed everything we built. I've killed millions. I've turned our paradise into hell." "Father, I'm seriously considering their advice," Constantine continued. "Surrender, end this before more people die. Try to negotiate terms that at least preserve some dignity, some autonomy for our remaining worlds." He paused, his eyes meeting Aiden's through the holographic display. "But I wanted to hear your counsel first. You're my son, you're my heir. What do you think I should do?" Aiden felt the weight of the question. What could he say? That his father should surrender and likely face trial as a war criminal. That he should keep fighting and doom more billions to suffering and death. There were no good options left. "Do what has to be done to end this war, father," Aiden said finally. "Whatever that means, just end it." Constantine nodded slowly, seeming almost relieved to have the burden of decision lifted, even partially. "I'll contact the Dominion fleet. Suddenly, alarms began shrieking in the background. Aiden saw officers in the command center racing to their stations, shouting warnings, their faces masks of panic. "What's happening?" Constantine demanded, spinning toward his tactical officers. "Sir, we have a contact," someone shouted. "Dominion warship, range 300 kilometers and closing. They've locked weapons on us." "Impossible," Constantine roared. "The camouflage on my warship is undetectable to modern radar. They can't." A new voice cut through the chaos, calm, cultured, and absolutely merciless. It came through the Imperator's Will's communication system, broadcast directly to the command center. "Not anymore, Constantine." The voice had the slight accent of the Dominion's core worlds, Earth English with a particular precision of pronunciation that marked its speaker as educated elite. "Our technology has now surpassed yours in every meaningful way. My name is Fleet Admiral Reginald Oswald, and I am in command of the DFS Righteous Fury. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender unconditionally, or I will destroy your vessel and everyone aboard." Constantine's face went white. Aiden could see his father's hands trembling as he gripped his command console. "This is your only warning, Constantine. You can come with me as a prisoner of war, subject to trial for your crimes. Or you can meet whatever God you believe in, though I suspect even the divine will have difficulty forgiving what you've done. Either way, your tyrannical war ends today. 20 seconds. Constantine looked directly at the camera, transmitting to Aiden. In that moment, father and son shared a look of profound understanding and regret. "I'm sorry," Constantine whispered. Then he straightened his shoulders and spoke loudly, his voice regaining some of its old authority. "I do not surrender unconditionally. I wish to negotiate a conditional surren." A flash of blinding white light filled the screen. Then nothing. The transmission cut to static. Aiden stood frozen, staring at the empty space where his father's face had been. The silence in his study was absolute, broken only by the soft hum of the holographic star map rotating slowly in its endless dance. He dropped to his knees. His father was gone, disintegrated in an instant, along with his entire command staff, along with thousands of crew members on that massive flagship. The Imperator's will, unsinkable, undetectable, invincible, had been destroyed before Constantine could even finish his sentence. "The prick didn't even let him finish," Aiden said to the empty room, his voice hollow. But even through the shock and grief, Aiden felt something else, a terrible, guilty sense of relief. His father's war was over. The killing would stop. The Dominion would dictate terms, harsh terms certainly, but at least the bloodshed would end. The Imperium would survive, diminished but intact. It was over. "It doesn't have to end like this, you know." Aiden spun around, heart racing. He hadn't heard anyone enter. Standing in the doorway of his study was a man he'd never seen before, fat, middle-aged, with wild gray hair and eyes that burned with unsettling intensity. He wore the white coat of a Federation scientist, covered with security clearance badges and department insignias. "Who are you?" Aiden demanded, his hand moving instinctively toward the ceremonial weapon he wore at his belt. "How did you get in here?" "My name is Dr. Sean Rosenberg," the man said, stepping into the room with the confidence of someone who belonged there. "I'm the lead scientist with the Hart-Wilhelm Portal program. Yes, we have our own version, though it's never worked as well as the Dominion's. I've been working in the deep research levels for the past 3 years. He smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. "And this war doesn't have to end the way you think it will." "What are you talking about?" Aiden rose to his feet, studying the intruder. "My father is dead. The Imperium has lost. It's over." "Is it?" Rosenberg moved closer to the star map, his fingers dancing through the holographic display, manipulating controls with practiced ease. "Your father saw what I'm about to show you. I presented this to him 2 weeks ago. He called it interesting but too dangerous." He lacked the boldness, or perhaps the desperation, to approve its release. Release of what? Aiden felt a creeping sense of unease.